Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you the stories that matter from across the world, shining a light on the biggest issues and controversies. I'm Kerry Johnston, live from the Firstpost studios, but first a look at the day's headlines. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi arrives in Istanbul for talks as Turkey offers to help mediate rising tensions with the US, which has raised the possibility of a military strike. Indian equity benchmarks post their biggest monthly loss in nearly a year as ongoing uncertainty over US trade policy and the subdued earnings season drives sustained foreign selling ahead of the annual union budget on February the 1st. Ukrainian President Zelensky says Kyiv will halt strikes on Russian energy facilities if Moscow reciprocates, after US President Trump raised hopes for a pause in attacks during freezing temperatures. Hong Kong says it firmly rejects a ruling by Panama's top court that annuls a concession allowing the city's C.K. Hutchison to operate ports at the strategic Panama Canal. And Japan's defense minister plays table tennis with his South Korean counterpart during the latter's state visit, as both agree to boost defense ties and integrate artificial intelligence and unmanned weapons systems. Canada is facing a new political storm. Separatists from the province of Alberta are being accused of treason after reports revealed they held secret meetings with officials from the United States. Well, the revelation has triggered outrage across Canada, with leaders warning that asking a foreign power to help break the country is a red line that cannot be crossed. Alberta is a province in Western Canada known for its vast oil and gas reserves. It's one of Canada's richest provinces and plays a major role in the country's energy sector. For years, a small but vocal group in Alberta has argued that the province is treated unfairly by Canada's federal system, especially when it comes to taxes, energy policies and revenue sharing. According to reports, Alberta separatists secretly met officials from the US State Department. Their aim was to seek political and financial support for Alberta to separate from Canada and potentially become an independent country. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says he expects the United States to respect Canada's sovereignty, while the British Columbia Premier openly described any separatist move as treason.
It is completely inappropriate to seek to weaken Canada, to go and ask for assistance, to break up this country from a foreign power, and, with respect, a president who has not been particularly respectful of Canada's sovereignty.
Other leaders warned that it threatens Canada's sovereignty and could invite foreign interference. Well, even Alberta's own premier has rejected the idea of separation, saying it should remain part of a united Canada. The separatist group is now trying to collect enough signatures to force a referendum on independence. Well, the group has publicly said it wants a $500 billion credit facility from the US Treasury to fund the creation of a new country if the referendum succeeds. Indigenous leaders, meanwhile, have also warned that Alberta cannot legally separate without their consent, as treaty rights existed even before Alberta became a province. Well, the controversy has also revived an old point of tension between India and Canada. For years, India has accused Canada of allowing Khalistani extremists to operate freely, raising funds, building networks, and promoting anti-India activities. These groups are seeking a separate Sikh homeland called Khalistan, primarily from India's Punjab region. But despite repeated warnings from New Delhi, Ottawa has often framed the issue as one of free speech and democratic rights.
As you are aware, we have repeatedly raised our strong concerns regarding the violent imagery being used by extremist elements in Canada against our political leadership. Democratic countries which respect the rule of law should not allow intimidation by radical elements in the name of freedom of expression. We again call upon the Government of Canada to stop providing criminal and secessionist elements a safe haven and political space in Canada.
Last year, Canada's own intelligence agency officially admitted that Khalistani extremists continue to use Canada as a base to promote, fund and plan violence, mainly targeting India. Well, the agency acknowledged that these activities pose a national security threat, validating what India had been warning about for years. Despite this, Canada had often defended Khalistani elements, leading to severely strained India-Canada relations. Well, today, Canada is facing a growing separatist push from within its own borders. Is it a genuine call for independence or a case of severe treachery against the state? We go underwater now. Taiwan has marked a major defense milestone with the completion of its first sea trial for a homegrown submarine. The test represents a significant step in Taiwan's efforts to strengthen its maritime defenses amid rising pressure from China. Well, the submarine, named Narwhal, is the first vessel produced under Taiwan's Indigenous submarine program. It completed an underwater test off the southern port city of Kaohsiung. Taiwan sees submarines as a critical military deterrent, especially as China continues near-daily military activities around the island. Beijing claims Taiwan as its territory and has never ruled out the use of force to bring it under its control. Taipei, however, rejects these claims and insists on its sovereignty. The Indigenous submarine program is a cornerstone of Taiwan's broader military modernization drive. The government is seeking to protect key sea lanes and prepare for potential conflict scenarios. This includes mobile, hard-to-detect systems such as submarines, drones and missile platforms designed to counter a far larger enemy. In fact, in November last year, President Lai Ching-te announced an additional $40 billion in defense spending, underscoring the island's determination to bolster its security in an increasingly volatile environment.
Achieve a high level of combat readiness for the joint forces of the national military before 2027 to effectively deter threats from China. The second goal is to further build a highly resilient and comprehensive deterrent defense capability by 2033. The ultimate goal is to establish a national defense force capable of permanently safeguarding democratic Taiwan.
Meanwhile, the project has faced multiple challenges, including international pressures and political obstacles linked to China's opposition. As a result, the delivery of the first submarine, originally scheduled for 2024, was delayed. Despite these setbacks, Taiwan remains committed to the program. The government plans to build up to 8 submarines in total and hopes to deploy at least 2 indigenous vessels by 2027. Later versions may be equipped with missile systems. Well, the Narwhal carries a price tag of approximately $1.6 billion. It features a combat system supplied by Lockheed Martin and is armed with US-made Mark 48 heavyweight torpedoes. The program has also drawn on expertise from several countries, including the United States and the UK. This cooperation is considered a diplomatic breakthrough for Taiwan amidst Chinese pressure. Well, Taiwan's military capabilities pale in comparison to China's rapidly expanding arsenal. However, Taipei believes its military investments can help level the playing field. So for Taipei, this submarine is not just a symbol of progress, but a message of deterrence. The submarines themselves may be submerged, but the message Taiwan is putting out there is clear for all to see. Diplomatic tensions between China and Japan are continuing to escalate. Chinese air carriers have cancelled all scheduled flights on 49 routes to Japanese destinations amid renewed travel warnings for its citizens. Well, this move has now delivered another blow to Japan's tourism sector and deepened strains between the two Asian powers. The crisis began last year after Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi commented on Taiwan, a territory which Beijing claims as its own. She said a hypothetical Chinese attack on Taiwan could trigger a Japanese military response, becoming the first sitting prime minister to outline such a scenario. Well, following this, China accused Tokyo of provocation and backing Taiwan's independence, demanding an immediate retraction. Amid the ongoing fallout, China has now cancelled the flights to Japan for February 2026, according to reports. And flight cancellations in January between the two nations already accounted for more than 47% of the normal total. China's three biggest carriers, China Southern, China Eastern and Air China, have extended flight cancellation and rescheduling until October 24th. Passengers are eligible for free refunds or changes, but only until March 28th. Well, the cancellations followed renewed Lunar New Year travel warnings from China's foreign ministry, with Beijing claiming its citizens might face serious security risks in Japan.
Recently, public security in Japan has deteriorated, with frequent incidents of illegal and criminal acts targeting Chinese citizens. Chinese citizens in Japan face serious security threats. There had been a series of earthquakes in some areas in the country, causing injuries.
Well, this is already hurting Japan's tourism industry, as Chinese tourists had been its largest market. Nearly 7.5 million Chinese visitors arrived in the first 9 months of 2025. They accounted for a quarter of all foreign tourists. And spending by Chinese visitors reached about $3.7 billion in the third quarter alone. But although Chinese travelers have started turning away, Japan's transport minister claimed that the country crossed the 40 million visitor mark for the first time in its history, a very healthy number. The ongoing standoff, though, also marked the end of panda diplomacy between the two countries. Tokyo sent back its last two Chinese pandas. Thousands gathered at Ueno Zoo to bid farewell to twin cubs Zhao Zhao and Li Li for the final time. Amid the diplomatic fallout, China was also reported to be tightening scrutiny on rare earth and strategic metal exports bound for Japan. So from falling tourist arrivals to cancelled flights and tightened scrutiny on exports, China's message to Tokyo is growing by the day, that it's not ready to compromise its position on Taiwan. And now to a story that could affect how millions communicate every day. Imagine sending a distress message to a friend or sharing bank details with a parent, believing the conversations are strictly private. But what if that privacy is breached? Well, this is now the concern around a platform used by millions worldwide, WhatsApp. There are fresh questions over the privacy of WhatsApp messages. According to a report, US law enforcement has been examining allegations that people working for Meta may have been able to access WhatsApp chats, despite the company's repeated claims of full encryption. The probe began after former contractors working for Meta raised concerns about how WhatsApp messages were handled. According to a Bloomberg report, these contractors later spoke to US investigators about their work on the platform. Well, the inquiry, internally called Operation Sourced Encryption, has been ongoing since at least mid-2025. WhatsApp is marketed as a platform with end-to-end encryption, meaning only the sender and receiver can read messages. This makes the allegations especially serious given the app's widespread use for private communication. Investigation records reveal that former contractors claim that content moderators hired through a third-party firm could see WhatsApp messages during moderation work. One contractor alleged Meta staff could retrieve older messages while handling cases linked to criminal activity. Similar claims have also appeared in a lawsuit filed in January in the US court. The report has renewed attention on Meta's past privacy controversies, including a record $5 billion fine in 2019. Though that case did not involve WhatsApp. Well, after the report, Meta's shares fell about 1% in extended trading. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg has repeatedly defended WhatsApp's encryption, saying even Meta's servers cannot see message content.
The thing that encryption does that's really good is it makes it so that the company that's running the service doesn't see it. So if you're using WhatsApp, basically, when I text you on WhatsApp, there's no point at which the Meta servers see the contents of that message.
Well, Meta has strongly denied all the allegations. The US Commerce Department said the claims are unsubstantiated and added that it's not formally investigating Meta. Well, the investigation has intensified scrutiny of how secure private messaging platforms really are. For now, then, Meta continues to stand by its encryption claims, even as WhatsApp users themselves may be thinking twice about revealing everything in that simple text. That's all we have time for on the show today, but you can join us again on Monday. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost Live.